But the first one will be a storytelling. So, here is continuing also let me introduce our friend here, our brother's friend, Bruce Marcus. So he will act of the MC, and then after break, which is nuts, and we will continue with that. So, on behalf of, it's called Salutation of Unity, which is a part of the which I found for India Discovery. The first story of the part of the India Discovery. And some part of it will be also said here, in the sense that we don't read books to hear stories, to form character by hearing, reinforce every year will be right. And then we learn that this is called kindness, this is called forgiveness, this is called brevity, this is called compassion. So my grandchildren growing up, I want to see how we know it is teaching them. And that's where we begin with the welcome Bruce Marcus.
Thank you, Bijoy. Good afternoon, everybody. It's a warm one here in Lincoln. But thank goodness the humidity has abated. I don't know if you guys have been, it's like yesterday, we would be functioning. I would be standing at the room. Bijoy mentioned Brother Blue. If you knew Brother Blue. The streets of Market Square back in the 70s, 80s, 90s, to the early 2000s. He would be all forth on street corners in the halls of academia, in prisons, in mental institutions, parties in towns like this, and he was a singular character. You could not miss him. He would be dressed in blue, he would have ribbons and bells festooning him, he would have drawn butterflies, in back of the room talking about it. He butterflies with a pen on his cheeks and on the palms of his hands. My first experience with Brother Blue, I was about 17 years old, and I was walking through the streets of Market Square, and up ahead of me, I saw this vision. I was getting at that age, probably a little bit under the influence of something. And I looked at Brother Blue and stepped up ahead of me, and I said, "No, keep on near that." I crossed the street. Little did I know that our paths would intersect much later in the future. Indeed, when he came and told me the first story of the audience in 1890, and it was terrifying. When he sat on the road next to his dear Ruth's wife, it was all his story and death. Until very, very recently, the pandemic, it's just until last year, almost 100 years old. They sat in the front row, Brother Blue leaned forward and smiled, the story of me. And he killed him. He was a very singular character with a singular spirit, and in his spirit, I, and 4 other individuals, including our storytellers today, carry on his weekly gathering of storytelling, story exchanges, and the modern to computer, and a story space. We're going to be there for 7 and we have this little story space behind us. The meeting is to invitation to start very shortly before we Tuesday. And we'll have the first hour will be on the line, take minutes. We're ready story 1 and 10, ready to sit and listen. And during the second hour, which means we have a feature storytelling, dive into the deeper depths, and to take a deeper dive into some of these particular storytelling style. So there you have it. It is my pleasure to be here, in the spirit of Brother Blue, and just welcome you all here today and introduce our opening act without any further delay. Our opening act today is not a storyteller, just about everybody else here today is. The opening act is a story-based songster. He hails from Hudson, Massachusetts, which is a pretty cool town. but if you yes, the river, yes, the river, he performs eclectic original songs of tasteful covers. And he's, because this is a multicultural event, it's probably worth mentioning that he's half and half Italian, or so you tell more, that's to say, she's an Italian distraction. Italian distraction as well. So I want you to please join me in welcoming to the stage singer-songwriter Paul Marchewski.
It's the switch to this, which is, everybody loves it, right? It's just, anyway, so right down the street, and I thought that tree is so many of you that know it. And I started looking at it. It's just so unusual. I get a chance to get in here. Yeah, the kid just right after. You guys just look at it. Very expensive left foot. And so we said that, and I was saying, it's a tree could read stories that it might just then like the witness. And so this is called the library. And the tree never listening. So the street is big and town. Play one can drive right. Stories have hidden characters in a tree that has read every heart. Far away. Words from that stand right on up to say or the catal of the bean or cigar tree. And now it's that has to be counterclockwise course with biggest hits. Stories have twists and characters have faces. Can a tree exist that has red every line of wisdom of one? Crimes of Jesus have you ever seen? Few theories exist. It's two trees intertwined, or some crook in its DNA. But if everything's connected like the shamans claim, then the answer's almost plain as day. If a bolt strikes a chord, it can change your life. It can change your being. If that old gal, she can truly be, then it's pretty much the same for nature. Stories have twists, and characters have faces. Can a tree exist that has read every line of war and peace, of greed and graces? Have you ever seen?
Lovely way to get things on. Well, Rogashevsky and Pop, they have seen the library retreat. I took it upon myself way over here to park at the library, get out of my car, and I certainly behavior works for Catalpa. Yeah, it's pretty cool. It definitely merits a song. Question was, how old is the tree for
Yes.
those of you?
You don't know, that's when I heard the song, it's like, well, how do I write a song about that, a tree that really nobody knows about in the town? And that's why it's, the history is vague and the artist unknown, about the tree. So that was the brain, so that's the story.
The answer for those of you who might be listening to the recording is we don't know who the tree is. Right? Because recently I guided a friend who was a plant expert and I said, my son some trees. So it's like that. So it's one of those mysteries. You think maybe if it's in a windy place, maybe the wind catches the branches with that. Yeah, it's just one of those things. Something like that, something about a genetic mutation. Sounds like a genetic mutation. Sounds like good guesses any to me. All right, well, you ready for a storyteller? That's good. Our next performer, storyteller, is somebody I've had the pleasure of knowing for decades now. Lives in Essex County, near the ocean. But originally, as a story childhood in Europe. He now tells stories from many different cultures, oftentimes to children. She likes to get them involved, acting out, doing things with their hands, with their voices. She loves to see their eyes light up. And today she is going to, I wanted to mention also She started an initiative called Stories in the Streets, where she goes out and does storytelling in underserved communities. And it takes someone with a very, very big heart and a lot of drive to do something like that. So she is to be commended for that very much. I want you to join me, please, in giving a warm welcome to Nicolette Gordon.
Not see the tree, but I am going to see the tree afterwards. So goodbye. As Bruce said, I tell young children, I do a lot of my work in Lawrence and Boston and Lynn and Chelsea. My first story comes from Hannah, and he speaks Spanish, so there are some Spanish words. So I'm glad that I'm on the language thing there. I didn't even know. Once there was a little bunny rabbit, and his name was Conejito. Conejito is a Spanish word for rabbit. Conejito, little rabbit. Now, Conejito, every holiday, he would go and visit his Auntie Juanita, Tia Juanita, who lived at the top of the mountain. This year, he was big enough to get on his backpack and hop up the mountain all by himself. He was a little nervous, but he was so excited because Tia Juanita, she was that relative who spoils you rotten. She would always have a new toy. She would give him all her time and feed him and feed him and feed him. And when little Conejito came back down the mountain, he was always as round as a butterball. So he had his backpack on because he was a little nervous. He sang a little song to make him feel brave. It goes like this. I love you, my dear Monica, and when she goes up dancing, they all say to la la. Well, he had got very far from the mountain. When he got the bushes, came to Mr. And Mr. Buck got that big little puppy around the bucky and said, Conejito, hey, I have met my lunch. Seriously? You do not want to eat me up today? Look, I'm so sorry. But when I come back from my Tia Monica's house, I will be round as a butterball. I will eat you when you return. I have a dear old auntie, my dear Monica, and when she goes out dancing, they all say la la, la la. Halfway up the mountain, from out of the forest, came Senor Tigre, the tiger. And he took a look at Conejito and said, Conejito, Conejito, I think I met my lunch. I'm going to eat you. Yeah, look at me. I'm so sorry. But when I come back from Tia Monica's house, I will be gordito. I will be round as a I will eat you when you come back. I have a dear old auntie, my dear Monica, and she goes out dancing. They all say, ooh la la, ooh la la. So close he could almost see the house, smell the food. Then out, behind a boat, came Simon and Bill. Bonito, I am going to eat you up. No, no, Senor Leon, look at me. I am just so skinny today. But when I come back to Monica's house, I will be gordito and as a comfortable, a much better meal for you. I will eat you when you return. Phew. And now Gordito really wanted to not make it up to Tia Monica's house and not meet any more of those animals so very fast. He went, I haven't been able to see my Tia Monica. Oh, she goes, I can see things. Whatever. And they played hide and seek, and he had puzzles inside, and at dinner time he ate what he loved to eat. Carrots, tomatoes, radishes, cucumbers, and beans. He had chocolate cake. Yeah, chocolate cake. With 2 scoops of ice cream and 5 chocolate chip cookies. And despite all the running around that he did every day, little Conejito with all that food sure enough got rounder and rounder and rounder until at the end of the week he was as round as a butterfly. I don't want to go home. I miss you. Oh, there are 3 mean animals waiting to eat. Oh, I will home. Oh, we cannot have that. Unfortunately, Tia Juanita was as smart as she was a good dancer, and she said, listen, I have a barrel, and I will put you in the barrel, and we will roll you down the mountain, and no one will see you. But if you get stopped or caught, I will also build a fuego, a big fire, lots of smoke, and you will tell those animals that the mountain is on fire, and they will run away. Good idea? So, Juanito was stuffed inside the barralito, and it began to roll slowly and faster. Boom! Bumped right into Senor Leo. Huh? Parari. Have you seen Juanito? Juanito was inside the barrel, right? And he said, Juanito. Don't run away. You'll be. And Leon will never be barbecue and your race. Right into have you seen what it is? Oh, and Peter ran. But the don't run. Right. Have you seen Conejito? If we go, the mountain is on fire, and you will be too if you don't run away. Seems so, but you never can miss. Kept on. Bumped right into Mama. Yeah? Baralito, ¿dónde es Conejito? It's in the barrel. Okay. Yes, wonderful. A good time at Tia Monica's house. We should sing her song, Uno Mas. I have a dear little my Tia Monica, and when she goes up dancing, they all say, ooh la la, ooh la la. Yeah.
It's been too long since I heard you tell this story. That was delightful. Want to have more time for you? Storyteller has done some work in education at libraries. I don't know about trees, but libraries anyway. And his storytelling focuses on legends and folktales from his heritage, which encompass the British Isles, Arabia, and America. It's a pretty wide net. He once came in first place in the poetry competition, the Jack Kerouac poetry competition in Lowell. I'd like to hear that movie someday. And he jingles. Please give it up for Trevor Malute.
Nice intro. We'll do a little shuffle, but I want to do time. Okay, so my story, is that a good sound? Oh, right on the booker. So this is going to be from Arabian Nights, so it tells you self-explanatory there. And this is going to be Aladdin and Magic Lamp. So that's a pretty well-known story, but it's going to be a retelling that it's going to make it a little family-friendly. So this is about Aladdin and Magic Lamp. So he was a fisherman in the story. He's going to be living in a small village, which is on the ocean. The ocean goes far, far wide, and was also on the desert. The desert went far, far wide. And Aladdin would bring his fish in and sell them in the market. But one day he brings them in. He's going to sell them at the marketplace to the fishmonger. What is the fishmonger? He's the guy that sells the fish from the fishing to the people in the village. And Aladdin said, are you looking forward to the village festival? You know, the one where we're going to have singing and the dancing and the storytelling and the food and all this. And the fishmonger said, no, I'm not looking forward to it. It's not happening. Aladdin said, what do you mean? He said, they're going. And so Aladdin was sad. So he sat down. The next one sat an old man, dark, slow. And the old man said, I think I have the answer for you. And it's out in the desert. But I'm too old to get there. And Aladdin said, what do you mean? He said, no, I know where there's a treasure, but I'm too old. I need you to help me strong when you're young. Take me there. And Aladdin said, I can have some of this treasure. He said, not only can you have it, but I can have it, and the village can have it, and everyone's going to be happy. This is going to be great. So Aladdin says, okay, fine. They go off, and they get their stuff, their materials, their camel, and travel one night, all day, and they rest for one night. Then they travel all day, and then they rest for one night. And then they travel the whole day, and rest that night, because they find what they're looking for, which is a cave, which people would walk right by because they weren't looking for. And in that cave was something. The old man said, you need to go in. Okay. So Aladdin went in. It was dark, and it was wet, it was cold, and it was long. And Aladdin walked to the end of this long cave, but there was no treasure. No treasure. What was it? It was a lamp. It was not like a lamp that we here you plug in, no. It was a lamp that you would fill with oil, and light went in and have a little bit of light. That's how they would light their rooms. And Aladdin grabbed this lamp and put it to the old man, and he handed it up and said, take this, and then you can help me out of the cave. So the old man took the lamp and he said, I just need you to go in there. I'm not an old man. I'm a sorcerer. And I said, what are you talking about? He said, I was worried about my safety. I needed someone else to test in and go get that lamp. I need that lamp for myself. And a sandstorm was coming. Aladdin didn't know what to do, and it swept away the old man, the sorcerer. He was gone. The sand swept over the cave, but Aladdin was stuck inside the cave. He sat down and said, I don't know what to do. I'm trapped in this cave. He looked at the end of the cave and he saw a glint of light. And there was a ring. Aladdin went up to the ring and he put it on. And all of a sudden, a man appeared. But it wasn't a man, it was a ghostly man just floating there. He said, I am the genie of the ring. I said, what do you mean the genie of the ring? I don't know what that means. What do you do? He said, I take people anywhere they want to go. And Aladdin said, well, do you do anything else? He said, no. But that's what I do. I take people anywhere they want to go. He said, okay. If I don't want to be in this cave. He said, where do you want to go? He said, outside the cave. They were outside the cave. They were standing at the top of the cave. And Aladdin said, well, this is great. I'm not in a cave anymore. I'm kind of stuck here in the desert. I don't know what you guys do. Genie said, well, where do you want to go? He said, we're going back to the village. They were back in the village. Aladdin said, what was that lamp about? I never got an explanation about what that was to the genie of the ring. And he said, well, that's a magic lamp. You rub that and get another genie, the genie of the lamp. He's going to give you 3 wishes. And he said, and I bet that sorcerer is already making some wishes. So Aladdin said, well, why don't you take me to wherever that sorcerer is, but I don't want him to see me. They were there in a cloud, looking out over to a giant palace, and the genie of the ring said, you see, that's the palace that the sorcerer voted for, wished for. He said, I want that. Aladdin said, I want that too. He said, what, the palace? He said, well, no. And that's what I want. He said, okay. Oh, where can you take me to the lamp? He said, I can't take you to the lamp right now, because guess who's holding it? The sorcerer. I said, okay. Wait till the end, until night, and then I'll take you to a special room for the sorcerer to keep the lamp. You'd only get 1 wish with that palace. So at night, they waited, and then the genie of the ring brought him to the lamp. Aladdin took the lamp, and he was now the owner of the lamp, making 3 wishes. The genie of the lamp appeared and said, what is your bidding? But just as he did that, the sorcerer heard what was happening, and he came into the room with his magic staff. And he went, stop! And he was about to strike them with magic, but Aladdin yelled out, genie, my first wish is to take the power away from the sorcerer. Oof. That happened. The sorcerer had no power again. But he was still a man, he could still run at Aladdin. And he yelled and he ran at Aladdin to get the lamp back to him. And Aladdin said, genie, my second wish is to banish the sorcerer from the land forever. And oof, he was gone. Now Aladdin had 1 wish left. And the genie of the lamp said, what would you like for your final wish? And Aladdin said, I have to think about this. I've only got 1 wish here. This is it. So he sat down and he thought, what I didn't really want this big palace. You know what I really want, genie, is to have that festival with my village. You know, the one with the singing and the dancing and the storytelling and the food, and everyone's having fun all for a whole month. And the genie of the lamp said, if I could do that, oof. That's what the village got. They got their festival. They were so happy that Aladdin had banished the sorcerer, that he had taken away his magic powers, and that they got their festival, that they made Aladdin the mayor of the village. And that's his job to this day. However, he still kept that magic ring. The end.
Yes. Good story, well told, and you have a voice for NPR. Anybody ever tell you that? Anybody else notice that? Yeah, good voice. Great voice. Okay, yeah, I took another minute to yeah. Right. Our next storyteller, I didn't even need my introductory sheets for this one. We talked a little bit before about the Tuesday night storytelling gatherings, the continuation of Brother Blue's Tuesday night storytelling. When Brother Blue became incapacitated and then eventually passed away, somebody else took over this venue, a couple took it over, about 10 months. And then they felt they couldn't do it anymore, they looked for volunteers. And 6 of us raised our hands and said, we'll carry it. when we became the gang of six, and we had been meeting every Tuesday evening. So without interruption, and missing maybe number of weeks you can count on one hand, maybe two. Since February of 1992, we have been meeting, so almost 3.5 decades, every Tuesday night. And it has been a breeding ground, a celebration of storytelling, cross-fertilization, and it's absolutely wonderful. We're not a critique group, we just share stories that you will, if you come to us these days, you will hear so many different styles and so much different subject matter, just all kinds of stuff. And it's adults talking to adults, so we really get into it. So it's a good time. One of the people I met when I very first started going to these Tuesday night gatherings is another member of the Gang of Six. There are 5 of us in the Gang of Six. We're storytellers, not mathematicians. He's another member of the Gang of Six. He is our webmaster. He is our treasurer. He manages our Zoom account. He does so many things, and he takes his turn hosting as do the rest of these. And he's a wonderful storyteller. Please welcome to the stage, Michael.
It is said for the evil in creating the world, which actually consisted of it is said that what Shiva finished creating the world, which consisted of 3 layers: the lower world of humans and animals, the middle world of demons and monsters, and the upper world of gods. He was very tired. He sat on the hillside outside of the world of force. And he slept. And he would wake up occasionally, and he would hear the bustle of the town. He would fall back to sleep because he was tired. And then one time he woke up, and there, next to his foot, was a horrible, ugly, white, face-to-face demon, one Alexander by name, sitting on his foot. We assumed that this was bad his eyes. But the next time he woke up, there was a horrible demon crouching. Before he could fall back to sleep, the demon said, "Oh Lord Shiva, please, I bow before your manifest powers. I wish to serve you. Can I not be of service to you? I will bring you my steam. I will take your dry cleaning and bring you back. I will do whatever you want." Shiva said, "What a bad dream." But he woke up again, and there was the demon. And Shiva said, "Okay, tell my wife Parvati that I am still tired, but I will be present again." He was wait, the demon was there crouching. "Oh, please, what can I do?" He got into the habit of using the demon to fetch his dry cleaning. And his errands, return books to the library, whatever his wife needed. Meantime, the demon got more and more presumptuous because he was doing all this stuff like a Jew. The other gods came and woke him up and said, "Shiva, that creature of yours with that hideous white face, you have to do something about him. He's throwing his weight around." Well, just last week at the Googleplex, parentheses, the Googleplex was a movie theater that had so many screens, it could almost show every movie that had ever been, ever would be made. Yes, last week at the Googleplex, that demon shoved his way in front of Lord Brahman and his wife, and got the last ticket to the revival Sound of Music. You have to do something about it. Shiva stood up, stretched himself, got the case out. Then he flew down over the of humans and animals. It was very quiet because in the sky, the moon was motionless. The water was sad. It did not rise, it did not sink. Animals and humans were frozen. They were fully formed, but they were frozen in place. Lord Shiva, thinking of what he had to do, saw a power wall at the bank of the river that wasn't moving. He opened his flurry. And whenever he opened his third, being the unstoppable force shut. He opened his third eye and let the water. Let the water. He looked around and saw a sheep standing motionless. Motionless. Sheep took the skin and wrapped it around it. Sat there, being able to hear. And the moon started moving in the sky. And as it moved, it pulled the blood, demons and animals, and it pulled it up. Let it go down, pulled it up, let it go down, that's the movement. And soon, people were standing, moving, talking, having lives. And then Lord Shiva came back. Oh, Shiva, thank God you're here. Remember that time that the demon friend woke you up and asked for a balloon? Said, sure. And gave him the power of the third. Yes, so that was a bad idea. Yes, he's shoving death around everywhere. He was down in the lower world and he was zapping mountains. Oh, well, said Shiva, I went a little overboard. Too many mountains, and it's hard to get right there. So this is good. But he's in the middle world, with the demons and the monsters, and anyone that looks at him crossing, which, oops, with them, he's zapping. You've got to do something. So Shiva put his drum under his arm, settled down to a nice flat area, and said, we're going to have a festival, we're going to have a celebration, we're going to have a dance. People were given rewards, medals, little certificates, even Alexander. He got a little certificate, parchment that said he was most improved. Most. We felt like he could do anything. So later, Shiva sat down, moved drum, and placed in nothing. His weight of our body began dancing. Is everyone afraid of dancing? Come dance with me, share with me. And only Chandra, his ego swollen, most improved, got up. Everyone else had a good sense to sit down and eat their mixture. Body beats violently. Then she jumped up in the air, and she pirouetted. James swept up, copy. It's justified reactions. Servants of donkeys rushed in, Russians and opinions, and swept in. She thanked everyone and said, this has been wonderful, we'll have to do it again. But everyone knew it. That's the story of the passion. This is a story from Norway. There was a young man who inherited inherited a lot. It was small, but it was snug at home. We didn't have any money, and we didn't have any food. We just had a Norwegian forest cat, a big Norwegian forest cat, which are big as the beginning. This one was extra big, and it was hungry. What is there to eat? Said the cat. And said, we just have one bowl of porridge, and it has to last us till next Wednesday. Because we could say, what is there to and he picked up the cat, opened the door, threw the cat outside, closed the door, and put the bar on the bridge. The cat was done outside. It's now, it's now, and he tried to swallow the cabin. He couldn't get his jaw over the chimney. So it's and he came to a man sitting on his porch in cottage. And the old man said, "Are you hungry? Do you want something to eat?" And the cat said, "Yes, I'm going to eat you." And it opened its mouth and it swallowed the cat, the man, in the chin. Just before it disappeared down to the old woman started saying, "Oh, first thing the tiger did." Cat walked away. And it was a he said, "Oh, sure, have some help yourself." The cat didn't wait to have some squirted in. It opened its mouth. Swallowed the old one. Before she disappeared, the old one was going to say, "Oh, I've got the possibility something better than this." And I continued better. So that swishy tail was still. These two thought leaped of the comments. The wind was and what you did, and each in turn asked, "Oh, you need something to eat?" And it said, "Something to eat." To church was a little boy, and said, "I'm so hungry." But he said, "Great, so wait. Just wait." And swallowed a little and just at doors. Relatives. So, yes, so that's what it's only except for because the dress is the word that is. And so river it's great one passing river and a whole it could feed. So yes, the rich they're just and the world's largest so not just I mean to eat you
Yes, please stop. I will give it a fan. So, luckily, because that, I get the fan, So I think that I can get it done. So I put the fan back, but I try to wait over frame mountain, the fire become bigger and bigger. So it turned out the fan is favorable. So I treat her, you treat me the cell. So that's the reason why I cannot get a real fan. But I did not give up. So I went to her house again. This time I disguised as her husband, the good demon, the husband, good demon. And said, hey, dear wife, I heard about somebody trying to steal anti-fan. So I can protect it. Just give it to me. And the princess did not have any hesitation and give the fan to the poor demon, but it's disguised by the monkey. So monkey very happy to get a fan and say, well, this time I really get it. However, at this time, so the husband actually come back and still see the whole scene. Well, you can have a transformation. I can have a transformation too, right? The poor demon disguised as a pixie from his brother. Say, oh, brother, so wonderful you get this magic back. So I can take this over and give it to our monkey and we can do it. He was tired, just make it break. So he just give the fan to the pixie, and actually it's a poor demon. So the poor demon uses the trick and to get magic fan back. So this time, the monkey said, I get tricked again. So how can you do? Right? But this time, I think the monkey king said, I won't give up. This time I will face to face. I will fight for it. I need to directly face it and without any trick and fight for the blue demon. So you don't go and say, no matter what, I want to fight with you to get a fan. And blue demon said, okay, fine, let's do it. So they start to fight. You know that they can have a transformation. You have a transformation. So when they fly for a while, the whole sky becomes red. It's thunderstorm, windy, and everything is a battlefield. So fierce. And at one time, the magic king become a small cloud, try to run away, and the blue demon become the swallow trying to catch it. And when you become a swallow, it becomes an eagle. When you become an eagle, I just wanted to treat it, cannot find it. So they kind of back and forth, nobody can wait for this. So finally, the cop say, hey, I need to try to mediate it. Fighting is not a solution, but I need to tell Blue Demon about the full story. Your son, your little red child is under me right now being a person. And the mission to India is very important to get all the sutra. So why not just give the fan to the monkey and I will guarantee peaceful. And finally, the Buddhi princess agreed with the fan and to the monkey. And he just wait over and extinguished the fire. And that's the story.
This is first time storytelling. You did a terrific job, and you look like you're enjoying yourself. You look like you really like the material, which is a very important kind of storytelling.
Take a deep look back to find the iron frame, the iron frame,
Oh yeah, okay. For those of you who may be watching this recording on the internet, the Princess
Iron
Princess Iron Fame Flaming Mountain is a film that you can find on YouTube. So you can find it. So, all right, we're going to take a break in just a moment for some refreshments. But first, we're going to walk back to the stage with Paul Krzyzewski.
Name was God. He when he was young, he studied to be a lawyer, and he became a great spiritual warrior. Rather than the scriptures of every religion came to the they were all because he understood that he became spiritual. Devoted to service, the spiritual be the change that you want to see in the world. Just be the change you want to see in the world. Dedicate his life to the cause. You know, as president of incarceration, but that was his determination. He said that he would make any sacrifice, but that he would never give. He used his heart instead of his yeah. This is the way to resist. He's slaughtered used his mind to fight for the rights of people. Not just people animals too. His basic teaching is true. Muslims, Sikhs, and Hindus, Christians, Buddhists, Jains, and Jews, all the many paths that lead to a light that shines bright inside me. The change you want to see, just like you. The change you want to see, so I keeps the whole one. Takes more strength and faith to be kind. With that in mind, God took a stand against the foreign occupation of his land. When things got violent, God fast, eating for days until the riots were passed. But the biggest event that made the British law was when Gandhi decided to harvest salt. The British military installed the salt, producing salt in a month's elapsed. So Gandhi and his peeps took to the streets, and they marched to the beach. When they arrived, they were beaten with clubs, but they didn't fight that. No, they chose the British military as they were Roman, and eventually they decided to go. You know, Gandhi G was a very great leader. Looking for all that, he was shy and eager. As a young child, he was just like you and me before he became Mahatma Gandhi. The word Mahatma, it means great soul, and it's inside us just you follow your heart. Next time I'll be our story. That's it. Change it, see it. Just like that. Be the change. Be the change you see. Just like that. Change you want to see. Be the change. Story tells us really great things. And we have some more coming up.
All right, enjoy some refreshments, enjoy the restroom, enjoy each other.
Sitting out. Yeah. Leaves me tank. Munish, she was back there. And he also often help them volunteer for a volunteer. And all that really do is here. During the day and it's on the break. The way we work for years. Like they are teachers, but we ran a school. During the day of so now we're doing this space for seem to one who has been of okay, is the regulars. So basically, in the assembly of $8 from study space, and feel how I will be some of the sound and being of the lesson. With that, I will take the opportunity in this summer afternoon. I guess we can go children, but we continue. And I can listening to talk. And hopefully we'll see gradually get audience and introduction. My whole goal is that people understand each other. The stories we told. So the stories that came out today, they're like a more common secular stories. The more intricate stories. Like children learn, and mothers teach in different countries. Iceland, Ireland, back to Japan, and we don't know them. So our goal is to see if we can extract and let all children know what other mothers are teaching their children so that they can be friends. So that's the goal of this. Regional living folk literature and oral poetry. With that, if we move here, we will continue and we will continue working with class.
I want to second that. Thank you to Andrea Camels. She is another member of the 5 members of the Gang of 6 at the Story Space, and she books the features along with me. I did it by myself for a good half a dozen years, and now I have her. It's terrific. She would be standing here talking to you right now, except that this is her, she's Orthodox Jewish, and this is her Sabbath. And so she's observing that, so she invited me to MC instead. But she invited most of the storytellers that are here today, well, half of them or so, and she organized everything, made my job really easy. So Andrea, when you're watching this recording, thank you. Thank you. Okay, our next storyteller, mostly I'm reading these introductions, but this one is so spot on that I feel like I need to. Our videographer today is up next. So we deserve a hand for videography. He's a poet, singer, and author, originally from Cancun, India, now based in Chelmsford, Massachusetts, or those of us who sometimes tell Jewish folk tales, we call it Chelmsford. The village, the mythic village of fools, Chelmsford, Massachusetts. He is the director at large right now at the Indian Discovery Center, and is co-founder of the Passion Project, which is a literary campaign, as well as Ammo Films producing music videos. He's got a poetry collection out there that published in 2022. He's a consultant by day and by heart. In his heart, he's a storyteller with his wife, 2 sons, and a furry friend. And when he's not working, you'll find him volunteering like he is today and supporting local nonprofits, giving back to the community that means so much to him. Another guy with a big heart. Please welcome Manish.
Thank you. So still, the story today I'm going to tell is, it's going to be in Hindi, originally. But before that, I will read a little bit. I'll give a context of that story, and then, a summary in English, and then I'll start my story again. This is an episode from the great Indian epic Ramayana. Ramayana was written by Sage Valmiki thousands and thousands of years ago. And Ramayana is a story of Prince Ram and his clan, his wife Sita, and the demon king Ravan. In between, there are several important characters in Ramayana. It is amazing how Valmiki has woven the characters and their nature in a poetry, and that too, I don't know how many thousands of years ago. In this story, the story of friendship, this friendship is unusual. This friendship is a human prince and monkey king, a human-like monkey. Their friendship, unusual. So it begins where wife got kidnapped by demon king Rama. So Rama is on exile to fulfill his father's wish. I would say not wish. He had given a promise, and to fulfill that promise, he has to get an exile for 40 years. And he's in the forest, and in the forest, his wife gets kidnapped by the demon king Ravan, and now he's looking around and he's distraught, and then he meets this monkey king, Sugriv. And this monkey king he is also facing a similar plight. His wife is kidnapped by his own brother, and he has been sent to exile from his kingdom by his own brother. So he's looking help from someone who can kill his brother and bring his wife and his kingdom back. And he meets Ram. And then I will pronounce Rama as Ram, because in northern India, this is how they pronounce. They remove the A and pronounce Ram. Ravana is Ram. So now, if you look at it, the human nature is always looking for help. If you see the nature out there, the sun, the air, the wind, the trees, they give. They don't ask anything in return. But humans' nature is always asking help. And that help establishes the friendship. And that is where Ram and Sugriv established their friendship. And what happens when Sugriv meets him, he's distraught, obviously, and he's trying to calm him down, because if Ram is not calmed down, if he's not realizing how brave he is, he cannot help him. So he pacifies him and he makes him realize that how brave you are and how power you have, and you can actually kill my brother, and then I will help you. And so that is the story basically, and how he tests Ram and his power in this story, and then finally he realizes, okay, Ram is the right person to kill my brother and bring my wife back and my kingdom back. So this is the story of Ram and Sugriv. There are some references, so I'm just keeping the references. So सूर्य हम सबको प्रकाश देता है, बदले में कुछ नहीं। हवा बहती है, बदले में कुछ नहीं। ये पेड़ पौधे वृक्ष हमको कुछ ना कुछ हमेशा देते हैं, लेकिन बदले में कुछ नहीं मिलता है। जो इंसान है वो एक बहुत ही अजीब प्राणी है, उसे हमेशा सहायता की जरूरत होती है, और अंततः वही सहायता वही हेल्प मित्रता में परिवर्तित होती है। ये सहारा जो मित्रता में परिवर्तित होता है, वो सहारा और वो मित्रता ही हमारी कहानी का आधार है। आज की कहानी है राम और सुग्रीव की। राम और सुग्रीव दोनों की पीड़ा समान थी, दोनों अकेले थे, दोनों विवश थे, और उनका जो मिलन था एक बहुत ही आकस्मिक हुआ था, कोई उसकी प्री प्लानिंग नहीं थी। अब होता यह है कि राम सीता को ढूंढते ढूंढते वन में पहुंचते हैं। वहां पे उनकी मुलाकात हनुमान से होती है। हनुमान उनको सुग्रीव तक लेके जाते हैं। सुग्रीव को पता चलता है राम अयोध्या के राजकुमार हैं, अपनी पत्नी को ढूंढ रहे हैं, लेकिन राम में उनको अपना मित्र एक सहायता के रूप में दिखता है। तो उनको ये भी दिखता है कि यही वो राम है जो मुझे मेरी पत्नी वापस दिला सकता है। अब सुग्रीव राम से मिलेंगे तो क्या करेंगे? उनको कुछ ऑफर करना है, उनको कुछ देना है। तो सबसे पहले वो क्या देते हैं? उनको आश्वासन देते हैं कि मुझे रावण का तो पता नहीं, मुझे नहीं पता वो कहाँ रहता है, किस दिशा की ओर गया है, उसका कुल क्या है, कितनी उसकी शक्ति है, लेकिन मैं आपको यह आश्वासन देता कि आपकी पत्नी को मैं खोजूंगा। मैं मेरा कुल, मेरी पूरी सेना आपकी इस खोज में आपका साथ देगी, और मेरे जीवन का यही एकमात्र लक्ष्य है। और देखिए, सच्चे मित्र का जो धर्म होता है वो भी यही होता है, मित्र को आश्वासन देना, उसके आत्मविश्वास को जगाना, उसके पौरुष को जगाना, उसको उसकी शक्ति का पता बताना। यही एक असली मित्र का धर्म भी होता है। लेकिन राम की जो स्थिति थी वो बहुत ही कठिन थी। वो उनको पता नहीं था कि उनकी पत्नी कहाँ है। सुग्रीव को पता था उनकी पत्नी कहाँ है, कहाँ पे रह रही है, किसने उनका किडनैप किया है, लेकिन राम को अपनी पत्नी के बारे में ये भी नहीं पता था कि वो जीवित है या नहीं है। तो राम की स्थिति बिल्कुल सुग्रीव के जैसे नहीं थी, इससे थोड़ी सी अलग थी। अब सुग्रीव उनसे मनोहार करते हैं, बोलते हैं कि क्योंकि उनको राम का पौरुष वापस जगाना, नहीं तो अगर नहीं जाएंगे तो बाली को कैसे मारेंगे, उसके भाई को कैसे। तो बोलते हैं, उनको बताते हैं कि दुर्बलता जो है वो एक जो आपका अवसाद है, जो दुख है, वो दुर्बल व्यक्ति की निशानी है। आप इस अवसाद से, दुख से बाहर आएंगे। आपको नहीं पता आपका जो शौर्य है, उसके शौर्य की चर्चा सब तरफ है। आपको उस शौर्य को वापस, और मैं आपकी मदद करूंगा आपकी पत्नी को ढूंढने। अंततः होता यह है कि राम का मनोबल वापस लौटता है। राम रियलाइज करते हैं कि वही बाली की मदद करेंगे, और बाली उनको उनकी पत्नी ढूंढने में मदद करेगा। यहाँ पे राम अपने आंसू पूछते हैं और सुग्रीव को एक सच्चा मित्र मानते हुए उस अवसाद से बाहर आते हैं। और मित्रता का धर्म यही होता है कि सुख दुख बांटते हैं लोग। तो मित्रता के चलते देश भी छोड़ के चले जाते हैं। यही मित्रता का धर्म भी होता है। सुग्रीव की व्यथा जो थी वो थोड़ी सी अलग थी, और उसका समाधान तुरंत हुआ। बाली जो उसका भाई था, उसने उसका राज्य छीन लिया था, उसकी पत्नी का अपहरण कर लिया था, और उसे देश निकाला दे दिया था। लेकिन अब राम की सिचुएशन समझिए। राम ऐसे ही नहीं किसी का वध कर देंगे, उसकी मेरिट सेट करनी पड़ेगी। उनको पता करना पड़ेगा कि वाकई बाली वध के योग्य है या नहीं। So here what I'm telling is, Ram is actually setting a merit. He is not just realizing that, okay, Sugriv says, okay, kill my brother, he did this, that. But no, Ram wants to set the merit of whether his brother Bali is actually, deserves that killing. So he asked the story, what happened? और यहाँ पे सुग्रीव बताते हैं कि बहुत साल पहले एक महिला के चक्कर में उसका भाई बाली और डीमन किंग दुदुम्बी, राक्षस दुदुम्बी, दोनों में युद्ध होता है। और दोनों लड़ते लड़ते एक गुफा के बाहर जाते हैं, और गुफा के अंदर लड़ते लड़ते जैसे ही घुसते हैं तो बाली के साथ उसका भाई सुग्रीव था, सुग्रीव को बोलता है तुम बाहर खड़े रहो और किसी को अंदर मत आने देना, मैं इसका वध करके बाहर आता हूँ। और ऐसे महीनों बीत जाते हैं, दोनों अंदर जो गुफा है उसमें युद्ध करते हैं। बीच बीच में सुग्रीव को आवाजें आ रही थी, लेकिन होता यह है कि कोई महीनों बाहर नहीं आता। फिर वो देखता है एक दिन कि रक्त बाहर आ रहा है, तो सुग्रीव ये मान लेता है कि दुदुम्बी जो बड़ा बलशाली राक्षस था उसने बाली का वध कर दिया, और वो गुफा का द्वार एक बड़ी चट्टान से बंद करके ये सोच के कि मेरा भाई मर गया वापस आ जाता है और उस राज का राजा बन जाता है और वहां पे राज करने लगता है। सो व्हाट हैपेंस हियर इज how Sugriv and Bali they became enemies because Bali was fighting demon king Dudumbi, and they enter into a cave and there's some confusion happens. Sugriv thinks that Bali is killed and he comes back, he closes that cave and takes the throne, but Bali is not. Bali actually kills the demon and he comes back. अब बाली जब वापस आता है वो देखता है कि सुग्रीव वहां पर राजा उनके बैठ गया, उसको बड़ा क्रोध आता है, बहुत गुस्सा आता है और वो उसको भगा देता है, एक ही कपड़े में उसको बाहर निकाल देता है, उसकी पत्नी को अपने पास रख लेता है, उसको अपनी पत्नी बना लेता है, अपनी रानी बना लेता है और पूरे राज पे राज करता है। So now that's what Bali does. He takes back the throne, he takes his wife also, keeps as his wife and throws Sugriv away. Now when Rama listens to this story, he sets the minute. तो राम बोलते हैं कि नहीं, जो भी व्यक्ति व्यभिचार करता है उसका यही हश्र होना चाहिए, उसका वध आवश्यक है और मैं तुम्हें तुम्हारी पत्नी को वापस दिलाऊंगा, मैं उसको मारूंगा। Now agrees to kill his brother. What happens is सुग्रीव को पता नहीं है कि राम में कितनी शक्ति है, वो उनकी शक्ति का आकलन करना चाहते हैं, उनको संशय है। So Sugriv has doubts. He does not know. He knows how powerful his brother is, but he does not know this small, lean, a very sophisticated prince can kill his brother. So Sugriv बोलते हैं कि प्रभु मुझे तो पता नहीं आप में कितनी शक्ति है, लेकिन मुझे ये पता है मेरे भाई में कितनी शक्ति है। तो राम के जो भाई उनके साथ हैं लक्ष्मण, वो क्रोधित हो जाते हैं, वो बोलते हैं तुम मेरे भैया की शक्ति पर संशय कर रहे हो, इनको क्या करना होगा अपनी शक्ति को साबित करने के लिए। So basically Rama's younger brother gets annoyed and he says, you are doubting my brother's capacity, his strength. What he has to do to prove his power, his strength. So सुग्रीव बोलते हैं उसे कि देखिए ऐसा है कि ज्यादा कुछ नहीं, जिस राक्षस को बाली ने मारा था उसका पूरा कंकाल यहाँ पे पड़ा हुआ है, आप उसको 1 लाख मार के 400 गज फेंक दें तो मैं मान लूंगा कि आप में बहुत ताकत है। So basically what he says, the skeleton of that king the demon king who was killed by my brother, his skeleton is right here, it's huge. What you see in this mountain is just a skeleton. If you kick and pushes that mountain away for like 400 feet, I will know that you are powerful enough. So Ram kicks it and it goes to like 40 miles. Sugriv still does not agree. वो अभी भी मानते नहीं, उसको बोलते हैं कि अरे ये तो जब वो जिंदा था तब तो वो हाड़ मांस कर था। Okay, so what he does, he says it's 40 miles. I mean, when he was alive, he was with the flesh, and it's just a skeleton. So I'm sorry, but this does not qualify. Can you do something more? You see this salar tree? If you can pierce this salar tree with your arrow, then I will agree that you can kill my brother. And that's what Rama does. He takes up the bow and arrow and he shoots the arrow and it pierces 7 salar tree in a row. And now Sugriv agrees and he realizes that the person who he has met is capable of not only killing his brother, bringing his wife and his kingdom back, can also kill Ravan, the demon king. And that's where when his doubts are cleared, the friendship gets established.
Peace for a little. Thank you, Manish. Now, curious, does anybody here, how many speak Hindi and we were able to follow that? So a few of you. Okay, great. Great, all right. Well, that was very rich. Thank you. Thank you indeed. All right. Well, you enjoyed her once, you get to enjoy her a second time. Please welcome that.
So the story that I am going to tell is very an original story, but it is based on all the fairy tales and folk tales I have read, and especially on research that I actually started to do on Persian folk fairy tales following Persian princesses in particular, and I found that Persian princesses are big-headed as Persian princesses. But this is not based on any particular folk. Once, there was a princess who believed she knew best. Princess Emily. Of course she did. She had been the only child and had just had her father, the king, raise her. And he had given her everything, her heart's desire. So as a child, she had a lot of pets, dogs, cats, horses, and snakes, everything. And probably too many shoes. He had given her an excellent education, of course. And so when Princess Emmeline grew to be of the age where everyone expected her to get married, because if you know fairy tales, princesses are always having to get married, she demanded that the choice be hers. Why not? That's what I want. So the king, her father, tried to have all these banquets and hunts and every occasion where all these eligible men would come and be, presented to her. But Princess Emmeline was nonplussed. So one day, the king, who had been king for a very long time, just couldn't get out of bed. Oh, knees, my back, my ears. And so he called for his bevy of wise men to come to his bedchambers. Oh, look at me, I can't even get out of bed. I have the ringing in my ears. I can't hear all these people who are coming to ask me for things. I really need to step down, and Princess Emmeline needs to take the throne, but I don't want to be lonely at the top. She needs to have someone up there with her. She must get married. It must be the last thing I do as king and wise men. It's your job to go find someone who's suitable for her. They long beards, just thick glasses. This is their job description. They conversed and met. And, oh, yes! They had a brilliant idea. A quest. Unfortunately, when I tell it, I have to explain what a quest is. And so, this quest was designed without Princess Emmeline's knowledge. She just knew there was going to be this huge banquet with, of course, a lot of different kinds of men, eligible bachelors, coming there, and all the gold, plateware was brought out, and there were special dancers, and music, and after the dinner, the king stood up. Attention! We are going to end this celebration with a quest. Yes. We are looking for men who can go out and track down and find and bring back the most horrible, awful, evil thing in my kingdom. Like 10 kings. And first up was a man who was huge. His muscles rolled all the way from his neck down to his fingernails. Yeah, I am Boris. I killed, squashed many bad things. I would go and fight the bad. And then came a tall knight. He had one of those curly king mustaches. And he gave a deep bow to the king, and his armor showed that he had fought in many a battle. I am Sir Stephen. I have seen so many beautiful things. I know how to track them and tame them and bring them back. I will win their quest. And the king, I had neglected to say, the purpose of the quest was the person who fulfilled it brought back the worst object. Though of course we know that the prize is Princess Emmeline's hand in marriage. And you can imagine that she heard that, her shot up, and she was ready to jump out of her throne, and everyone calmed her down, and she's sitting there just gripping her throne, just furious. But then, after these two suitors came up, I mean, they looked so clearly able, no one came until coming down the aisle was the court jester. A jester, the man actually brought in when Princess Emmeline was having a hard time finding friends to amuse everybody. He used mime as his only means of communication. And so he strolled boldly down the aisle, came up on the stage, and everybody thought it was a joke, and they laughed. People realized he was serious, and the king, I didn't see anybody, and you all here. So very well, 3 days, come back. After 3 days, in comes Boris. He is dragging the carcass of a huge dragon. Although quite dead, smoke still spiraled out of its nostrils, and he lay the dragon in front of the king, wise men, Princess Emmeline, and oh, wise men. Yes, strong. She needs someone. She's so strong. Well, this will be just perfect. Then in came Sir Stephen. His beautiful white horse was pulling a black carriage, which was actually set up like a big cage. And in the cage was the questing beast. The questing beast has giant hair-like legs, the body and claws of a tiger, and the head of a large serpent. And yet here the beast was, curled up in the cage to hurry. Ah, the king thought this man, he knows what he's doing. It's very knowledgeable, very good daughter. So clearly she was not happy, and so he said, well, there's another. Oh, no, where's that stupid, he comes in, right? So third, he comes in. He just strolls down the aisle again, and he is carrying nothing. And he comes up to the king, right up to him, and he sticks out his tongue. And then, why would you stick out your tongue to the king, into the dungeon, and Princess Emmeline says, hold on, king. I know that I have used my tongue to say many and awful thing to people, and even you, Popeye's king, have sentenced people to some awful things, and we found out that they were innocent in the end. Surely that is the most evil thing you can do, and you might be right, but now I'm going to tell about the second part of this quest. You must go out and find the most wonderful thing in the world, the thing that gives my Princess Emmeline joy and laughter, and she's just radiant, and that's how we know we'll have a winner. swamp, they said, in 3 days. 3 days later, in comes Boris. Once again, he is rolling in big brown sand. He ties it and reveals the world's largest diamond. It is so brilliant they must shade their eyes to look at it. The whispering is very strong and wealthy, perfect. And then in comes Sir Stefan. He comes in, and he is holding a glass bell jar. There's a little tinkling light inside that bell jar. He has brought a fairy, a live fairy who is beating her wings against the glass. Exactly, says Princess Evelyn, beating the wings against the glass. And they wait a moment. Sure enough, comes the court jester. Carrying comes up before the king and once again shows his tongue. No, once you could understand it, and twice I don't know what the dungeons are for you. And Princess Emma says, no, hold on. And the jester turns to Princess Emily and looks her in the eyes. And he speaks the first words anyone, even Princess Emmeline, has ever heard him speak. I love you. And Princess Emmeline thinks of all the times that she and the jester were skipping stones in the backyard, the times they played backgammon late into the night, and her face begins to radiate. A smile covers her face, and it is clear to all that the jester clearly has won the quest. So, some years later, they are married, and they are ruling the kingdom happily ever after.
Taming of the Shrew, version style. All right, our last teller. We're nearing the 4:30 mark. We're going to try to get Paul on the road because he's got a 6 o'clock meeting in Barry, Massachusetts. So we're going to speed things along, and I'll help you load down. We'll get you all the help you need. Our last storyteller of the day is also going to mix up some Indian language with English, presenting a story form of an Indian poem. Please, a poet and writer who came down from New Hampshire today for us with his wife. Please welcome to the stage, Johnny Ecker.
Yes, beautiful presentation. I'm so thought, but for the depth of each and every story. So I thought I would make a little change. Instead of telling a story, I will read it. How about that? Everybody likes it. It's the story I just wrote, but it's based on a book by one of the very famous poet from the 1820 to 1899. That was the name. Half British, half British. And he kind of, he brought the language called Gujarati, which is the western part of India. And he brought that language, he kind of revived it and made the literary part of, kind of brought it back into people. It's very simple, so everybody can understand, not complicated. At the same time, it had a meaning. Beautiful, nice satire we see in some British humor, some other all the humorist. but without hurting anyone. How to tell the truth, that he was doing. And he called himself the advocate of Queen language Gujarati. He brought that back, Gujarati language, back to people. And anyway, was inspired by a British linguist to write in Gujarati English. So that was another phase. But there are a lot of things. So his story and his poem maybe should have been expanded in the story out of what he's trying to say. But also there's a little metaphor, the way he used to write, and I put the story has nothing to do with it. Comes together. So we read the story first, then read his poem. In the original language, which has a line, which is called rhythm, or chand, called Manhar Chand, it was written in there. So the title is Ut is canon, and is just saying. Ut is saying something. Ut is saying something in a meeting of animals. That's about the stories. So, long time before King Ashoka's empire in India, all the animals lived happily together. They were never afraid of each other. They felt safe under their government, known as government of all animals. In short, it is called GOA, Goa. There were 30 forests in India, still is there. There's a list published. So there were 30 forests, starting from north to south, east to west. And the Gir, which is the part of Gujarat, western part of Gir forest, which is a sanctuary of lions right now. So Gir forest in Gujarat was their capital of animal kingdom. There was no king, and they have elected animal representative from all 30 forests. So one day, the messengers from Goa, the government of animals, roamed through all forests, north, south, east, west, went through them quickly, and say, here, all the animal citizens of Goa, come to the Gir forest on a full moon day. We have a meeting of all the animals, birds included. No one from mankind is invited, even though there are some animals, hidden animals. Come, please, do it. So on a full moon day, all the animals and birds, they are assembled in the Gir forest, waiting for the meeting to start. There comes the speaker. My dear fellow animals, my dear fellow animals and the birds, you are all here and look so any color, brown, red, red, white, blue, indigo, yellow, stripes, dots, furs, 2 legs, 4 legs, short, tall, long nose, flat nose, and we look so happy. We look so happy. Cheers, cheers, cheers. So suddenly,
the speaker gets interrupted by a shout from the audience. Sabu, stop, stop. It was Ken. That was Ken. Trying to stand up. First with the back legs, then with the front legs, then its two bags starts coming one by one. One can see his crooked ears, drooling lips as it walks outward in the stage. Sabu, stop, stop. I want to say something here. That's what it says. And the camel starts speaking. He starts speaking with every word from his mouth was like a bullet fired from AK-47. This assembly exists. In this assembly, there are many crooked limbs and ugly limbs. On this earth, there are countless birds and animals. A heron's neck is curved. A parrot's beak is parrot's beak is crooked. A dog's tail is bent, and the trunk of an elephant all curved, in the claws of a tiger. A buffalo's head is crooked, and is burdened with horns. So suddenly the fox stood up from all the animals. The fox stood up and smiled at the camel and said, "Look, Mr. Camel, others have only one crooked limb or a defect, but you have 18 crooked limbs." And so that was the message, that look yourself first before you find false. That was the purpose. Now, the original poem by him, very short. So the camel says, in this assembly there are pigs and crooked limbs. In the earth there are countless birds and animals. Heron's neck is curved, parrot's beak is curved, the dog's tail has a curved head. The trunk of an elephant is, and the claws of a tiger. The buffalo has a crooked, and he is burdened with horns. Hearing this, the fox says, "Look, Mr. Camel, others have crooked one, you have 18. That was, but his last punchline has become like slow, just like JFK said, what you can do with 18. That can, it's become like one of the part of the saying in every of us. We were news.
What's the saying? What is the saying? What is the saying? So what is it? What is the saying? So,
You say, yeah.
What it says is a rhythm in Gujarati. Okay, awesome.
Bagani do Maki Pukuni, Chazaki, Utarani, Uchari, Hati, soon, Maganachina, Basin to shield, finger and Sambali she check. Sambali she had a blue, Onion to Ekava.
Did I hear that it was also your first time doing something like this? Hey, okay. All right, we're going to give Paul the last word, so I'm just going to take this opportunity to thank you, Israel, for, it's a simple lyrics, so we can hear that. And just want to thank you, Israel, for organizing this process. Storytelling. And don't forget the Story Speech Tuesday evenings tonight on Zoom. We'd love to see you there. It's been my pleasure to be your host today, the glue that holds this together, and thank you guys for holding me together. Give yourself a big hand.
Thank you, thank you. I have to learn Hindi now. Anyway, this is a song called
Hey, we said that came with this humble setting. First effort of this intercultural. So, intercultural. So, hopefully, we'll learn it. Because the food is that. Then you put then you put Anyway, thank you all. Read that. And if you
Thanks, everybody. We're gonna just wrap this up with, if I had a hammer, but you notice that the next verse is not if I had a song, but it's I had a story, if I had a story. If I heard all this there, danger, I It's the hammer. I'll figure it. It's the story. It's the hammer. Just dance. It's the hammer. It's the story. Thanks so much. Well, I know.